That's right. It's time for us to commune, have a conversation. So come on with it. What I'm going to talk about is, I have these conversations with various people, and then sometimes I believe that those conversations are worth sharing because other people can get a lesson from them, right? All right. I'm Dolores Jones, your comeback coach, of course. So I was talking to someone, Pam, and she brought up these words. She said, victim by choice. And that's what this video is going to be about. Victim by choice. Hold on, y'all. Okay. Victim by choice. And she began to share some things because sometimes we don't know our own strength. Remember, we talked about that. But being a victim by choice means you already know that something's not working. You know it's detrimental to you. But on the other side, you fear the unknown more than you do the abuse. And it's important for you to understand that. So she said she was a victim by choice. She chose to stay in that situation because there was a big old world out here and she wasn't sure. Now, here's the thing. Certain things are inevitable. They're going to happen. And so as you look down your life, she looked down her life over 50 years. And she finally did what she was afraid to do 50 years ago. But she realized she was a victim by choice. Some people are victim by circumstances, and that's where it's the circumstances. But there comes a point when you really recognize your power, you recognize who you really are and what you're capable of. You get to decide, are you going to be a volunteer victim? Are you going to be a victim by choice? Or are you going to make another decision? And so she and I were talking about the first day I was assaulted at the time by my husband at the time. And oftentimes women, we try to be so strong. So number one, we don't talk about it. We don't charge them with anything. And I just remember saying to her, after it happened, I went straight to the radio station to do my show. Because that's what we know. We just keep going. And I said, I never thought to press charges then. So when it happened a second time, it was like there was no history. So it's like he got a slap on the hand. And as I was talking to her, I said, you know what? Instead of just brushing it off and going to work and doing my job, I should have called the police. I mean, let's think about that. I should have called the police. But I didn't. I knew to just be strong. Girl, keep going. But sometimes we have to slow down so that we can think about things and acknowledge our choices and decide, maybe I should do this instead of that. Now, if you know you're in a situation like this right now, this is one of those things to get you to stop and think. Because you have shows like Snapped, where women stay in situations and eventually they do begin to defend themselves. But according to the courts, it's too late. It's like, well, if it was that bad, why would you stay? And everyone has their decision. Everybody makes their decision. In a second situation that I was in, and remember, sometimes people repeat cycles because you don't deal with the root problem as to why you keep making those choices, right? And so by the second marriage that had abuse in it, I had to stop and go, Dolores Jones, what are you doing? Because this is becoming a cycle. So let's go into the root. So the root for me was back when I was a kid. And I didn't talk about it until I was in my 30s. Now, y'all, I'm 50. And it was seeing a babysitter that I had. He was a male babysitter. And I saw him being mistreated. And, kids were innocent and we choose to love. We love the underdog because we feel people should be loved no matter what. So secretly in my mind, I made a vow to myself that I would never let anybody hurt him ever again. Well, then when he started touching me inappropriately and taking me upstairs, and later I learned it was called molestation, even that I kept to myself. It was a secret because I didn't want anybody to hurt him. Okay, so this is a pattern. So eventually I realized that the root was I was committed to loving people who hurt me. You hear that? I was committed to loving people who hurt me. Now that's not a healthy pattern, but until I recognized what it was and where it came from, I couldn't break that hold. That's what you call a stronghold. Something's holding on to you and you really don't know how to shake it. You really don't know how to let it go. But once you find the root, you can go back. So I found the root and I said, you know what? What he did to you is wrong. And you didn't need to protect him because he was your babysitter. And what they did to him was wrong. But you don't have to protect anybody from people who are hurting them. You need to protect yourself. And so I had to let go of that deep-seated commitment that I made. That once I said, I love you, whatever you were doing, I was going to find an out for you. And I was going to suffer silently because that's what I knew to do. And then when I realized I don't have to do that, I chose not to be a victim. I had to face the world. I had to practice what I really believed. And I walked away from everything. The first marriage, I walked away, keep the house. Now, looking back on that, because we had a child, I should have asked for the house. But in that moment, when you realize I got to bust a move, I got to make a move, because this distraction, if I play into this distraction, it's going to cost me my destiny. And see, that's what you have to understand. When somebody's baiting you and they're baiting you and baiting you, understand there is a motive to that thing. They want to keep their hook in you. And then your fear, which is false evidence appearing real, your fear, which usually isn't even rational, or you're afraid, but you don't think you can handle it. And then sometimes when you're forced to handle it, you know how you're forced to handle it? When a person dies. Some people will stay in relationships with people until they die. And then you still have to do what you should have done a long time ago. Am I right about it? Put in the comments, you're right. We're talking about victims by choice, a victim by choice. Victimhood usually means that someone takes advantage of someone who is incapable of protecting themselves. Now, the first time you do it, okay. But once I know what you're up to, and I allow you to continue to do it, and I decide to fight you in it instead of making an intelligent decision and saying, I don't need this. I don't have to participate in this insanity. Now I'm a victim. Every time you make an excuse for unacceptable behavior, and you know that it's having a negative impact on you, then you are choosing to be that victim. Some people are faithful to dead things. Well, at least I know this. I know I'm going to come home, he going to trip, and we going to fuss, this is going to happen, then I'm going to go to sleep. But if I go out there, I haven't lived on my own since I was... Well, I've never lived on my own. Why? Because some people go from home to relationships. Why? Because that's how it's sold to us, ladies. Let's think about this. When you talk, when people tell you how to be this way and how to be that way, they're basically saying you need to be good enough so somebody will want you. Not how do you stand on your own 2 feet, not how do you build your own business, not how do you go further. You know, you're going to learn. There's a point where you learn relationships come and go. And if we spent more time, the amount of time that we spent trying to pursue a relationship in building our businesses, we would be so much better off. So it's wise, if you're still, in your 20s or your 30s or what have you, that you heed what somebody's telling you. I mentioned the young girl this morning, the young lady, Amanda Gorman. She is the youngest poet laureate who spoke at the inauguration of President Biden and our Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. She was 22, and it got me to thinking, man, I was 23 when I got married. I was 23 years old when I got married. I'm thinking, what? But see, when you're in survival mode and all you know is to fight, you really don't get to see your innocence. You just move with it. You don't want to be wrong. If somebody's promising you this is going to work, then you go for this versus just saying, you know what, I really don't have to make this decision at all. And I'm looking at this young woman. She was 22. I was 23 when I got married, and I was divorced by 30. Choices. Sometimes you make choices based on false information or fear. Now, you know, if you don't marry this person, you going to hell, he going with you. You don't know when Jesus is coming back to crack the sky. So all you think is your option is to say, I do, when you really don't. Baby, I wish I would have had enough courage the day that I said I do, and I was 2 hours late to my own wedding. And then I was saying, why did my best friend said, don't do it, Didi, don't do it. You know, she's knocking on the bathroom door. I'm like, Didi, we got to get to the church. We got to get to the church. And in that moment, I froze. But there's a point where you have to thaw out. Come on, you got to thaw out. Because this is your life. You don't get a do-over. Certain things you don't get to do over. So it's all about choices. It's all about choices. Did I say it's all about choices? Okay, it's all about choices. Because it is. It's all about choices. You can choose to do the work. Hold on, I'm trying to get my little camera. You can choose to do the work. Or you can choose to sit in it and you can complain and complain and complain because neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. You ain't got to even say goodbye. Say, I holla deuces. When you realize that there's so much more in store for you, if you would just step out. Step out. There was a man that was going to go before a firing squad. And so the day before the firing squad, the captain said, okay, listen, you can either stand before the firing squad tomorrow, or you can go through that door right there, right now. And the man said, well, what's on the other side of the door? He said, I don't know. But it's your decision. You get to choose. The man said, I'm going to choose the firing squad. So the day, of course, they assassinated him and killed him. And then his assistant, the captain's assistant, said, well, what's on the other side of that door? And he said, freedom. Freedom. Freedom to choose. Freedom to try again. But he was so accustomed to, I gotta see it. I can see the firing squad. At least I know they're going to shoot me. But if I go through that door, I don't know what's going on. And it's called freedom. Freedom to choose. What have you chosen so far for your life? What have you chosen? Have you chosen to come up with sophisticated lies that you tell yourself and you try to sell to somebody else? That's how a friend of mine said it. He said excuses are sophisticated lies that we tell ourselves and then we try to sell it to someone else. And the person will look at you like, no. See, victim by choice. Eventually, you're going to learn to stand on your own two legs. Maybe you were dropped as a child. You know, biblically, there was this young kid named Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth was Jonathan's son. And Jonathan and David had a covenant, you know, back in the day. You take care of my kids if I'm not here, vice versa. Well, Mephibosheth had a nurse, and the nurse was trying to take him to safety. You know, sometimes people are in a hurry trying to do stuff. And trying to get him to safety, she dropped him on his feet, and he never walked again. He became lame. And so, sometimes we don't want to deal with people who have a disability. We just, shoo them on over. So that's nothing new. But when David came around, he said, I am looking for basically an heir of the house of Jonathan so that I can show him goodness. And people were like, well, we don't know, because they had wrote Mephibosheth off. And they said, well, there is one. There's just one. They said, well, show me who he is. He said, well, he's lame. He can't walk. He said, I didn't ask you all that. He is Jonathan's son. It's his inheritance. So the king changed the whole program. He told them from here on out, no one sits down at this table until Mephibosheth is carried to the front of the table and he is sat down. He sits in the king's place. Then you all can do what you can do, what you want to do. See, sometimes God is ready to shift the whole program. He's ready to change the game. He's ready to change the rules, but you won't step out there because you feel like somebody dropped you. You got a voice you can use. Or maybe you felt like you did something so bad. It was so bad, Dolores, that I don't even deserve my dream. I was like that. I felt like I did like the worst thing ever. And it's interesting that sometimes what you think is the worst thing ever is really normal for someone else. They're like, oh girl, please, I did that like 3-4 times. And so I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't apply for work in TV or radio. I was like, I don't even deserve it. And I would sit on it, and I sat on it. And then next thing you know, I was on food stamps, and then I was on income-based housing, and I was playing small. How? Because I could only afford to make so much money. If I made $1 more than the base, then they were going to take my food stamps away. And I was, college educated, spirit filled, accomplished journalist, award-winning journalist, master's degree, social worker, all of that going for me. But because in my mind, I wanted to punish myself. And sometimes you become a victim by choice because you're punishing yourself for something that you did in your past. Remember, we talked about this before. Your past, you may be done with your past, but your past isn't done with you. And in prayer, I said, God, what about it? What am I supposed to do? And these were the words. Tell your past that it's not open for discussion. Case is closed. So if anyone comes up to you wanting to revisit your past, you have a right to say, you know what? We're not going to entertain that. What does that have to do with today? And when you become that specific and monitoring your conversation and understanding you do have some say. Now, if you tell yourself you're going to sit up in this little mess and rot to death, and then get mad when the person leaves you. That's the other part. Pardon me. You stay in these situations, and this could be men and women. I'm not just, honing in on my women today. But you sit there with a person no good for nothing, won't support you, doesn't have a good thing to say to you ever, but you loyal. Who said these hoes ain't loyal? Who said that? Who that song, these hoes ain't loyal? I remember they said, these hoes ain't loyal. Listen, some people you don't need to be loyal to. You need to check your loyalty. You need to be loyal to yourself, loyal to love, loyal to a good life. Do you think God took his time and formed you in your mother's belly and then created you to be fearfully and wonderfully made, for you to be somebody's punching bag, for you to be somewhere sitting and begging somebody for something that you're capable of getting yourself? The choice is yours. Well, where am I supposed to go? You'll figure it out. When I left the house, I was like, Lord, you know what? I'm a college educated young woman. I work full time as a radio personality, and I need to ask questions. And eventually I kept asking questions, and then I bought my first house while I was in graduate school as a single mother. Because sometimes it's baby steps towards you're trying to go. Now, even if you're in a situation and you don't just want to go cold turkey, right now you need to be planning. Get your resources together. Get your documents together. And then listen, don't talk so much. That's part of the problem. You don't need to tell people your plans. Show me. I can show you better than I can tell you. See, when you start having conversations with the enemy, or you start having conversations with other people, now they can challenge you. And some can even talk you out of your own deliverance. Do you hear me talking to you? Of course you do. It's your decision. You can't. Time does not wait for anyone. Clocks don't stop, and time won't wait. Well, as soon as what? Well, as soon as I get this promotion on this job. You may never get that promotion on this job. So you're telling me you're going to just stay stuck right there where the person can say any kind of crazy thing. And then by the time you do leave, you have no self-esteem whatsoever. And then somebody meets you and they just want to love on you, and they can't love on you because you're so broken and you're so hypersensitive. And you ever met somebody who's just beautiful and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, what happened? Now, a lot of people think beautiful women are arrogant and all this. No, I said, you know what? Being a pretty woman can be a challenge. Why? Because the women hate you and the men want you. Okay? The women, who do you think she is? Oh, she ain't cute. And then the men, I want her. But nobody really knows what you want. People have their own agenda. You get to decide if you're going to be a part of their agenda or are you going to have your own agenda. And if you just, I don't know. Where you want to go eat? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Well, what kind of job you want? Any job, just any job. Any job? No, you got to stop and think. That's what we need to teach in school. All this algebra and all that, or algebra, as Medea said. Listen, you got to be able to think for yourself and make an intelligent decision. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, you can start over. But it's the starting over part that we don't want. We like things that are predictable. We are creatures of habit, even if that habit is killing us. Why would you do that? It's just a habit, girl. I always do it. Well, can't you change it? I don't know. I never thought about it. Why didn't you think about it? Because people don't want to think. I want to feel my way through this. Well, sometimes you feel your way. You feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. But if you start to think and you have a disposition that says, I deserve better than this. Wait a minute. It's kind of like the prodigal son when he came to himself. You know, he was out there slopping with the hogs, just like some of y'all, slopping with the hogs. You know, I was in a relationship one time. I started wearing the man's clothes. That's when you know you lost. You ain't even dressing like yourself. I'm walking around with his clothes on, his pants on, his sweatshirts on, and going, what's going on? I was just feeling. But I came to myself. The prodigal son said, wait a minute. Even my father's servants eat better than this. He said, I will humble myself and I will go back and I will apologize to my father. But then he said his father, the word says his father saw him afar off and got excited and said, kill the fatted calves. My son is coming home. See, sometimes we stay so far away because we tell ourselves a story or we project how we think a person should feel about us when the person just wants to see you make it. I told my son, and I tell him this all the time. I said, there is nothing that you will ever do that will cause me to stop loving you. Now, there are consequences, but you don't have to worry about when my mom loved me. You just take that out of your vocabulary. I'm always going to love you. You're my son. And if we could hear that more often, I think sometimes at homes where you could find somebody who loves you for you, then we wouldn't be so quick to run into these relationships and stick and stay because you just feel like, I don't want nobody to tell me I told you so. Well, they're going to tell you they told you so anyway. What? Okay, hello, whatever. I don't want to be embarrassed. Do you want to be in bondage? And when you put it like that, you know, I don't want to be embarrassed because girl, do you want to be in bondage? Or do you want to live? It's like the man who was who was at the pool of Bethesda. And 1 year the water would be troubled. Just 1 year, 365 days, and the water was troubled. And whoever could make it in would be healed. This man sitting at the pool, people just going past him. I think he was there for 39 years. 39 years. I would have been crawling with my elbows or something. So as the story goes, Jesus walks up and he says, hey, wilt thou be made whole? He starts talking about, well, every time the water is troubled, somebody gets in front of me. Now, of course, that wasn't the question. You got to pay attention. He said, will thou be made whole? Do you want to be free? I didn't ask you how. I just asked you, what do you want? And that's what happens sometimes. We know what we want, but we get stuck because we don't know the how. But that is not necessarily what is required. It is possible. And that's what faith is about. The substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things that are not seen. But sometimes you have that spiritual eye. You have mind sight. You have your eyesight. You can see it. You know, it's kind of like, I could just taste it. I can taste it. Okay, then go for it. Well, no, wait a minute now. I got to know. No, some things you're just not going to know. You're just going to have to keep on going. You're going to have to trust that the way will be made. And you hear people say, where there's a will, there's a way. And everybody say, amen, it sure is, amen. And they're like, do you want to do something different with your life? I don't know. I got a couple of more years and I'm going to retire here. How do you know you're going to make it a couple of more years and retire? That's not promise. You just working. What you got to show for it? A headache? A broke back? You know what I'm saying? Listen, you behind on your dreams and your bills, but you still steady with that one thing. What if I fail? Well, what if you win? Well, they're going to think, who cares what they think? Well, I'm just saying, why are you saying it? Will thou be made whole? Do you want a better life? Do you want to live your dream? Okay, then let's focus on that. Well, no, let's focus on that. First of all, let's outline the vision. What do you want? Now, let's make the plan. Set the plan. When I had to leave my husband because it wasn't healthy. And yeah, I dealt with being embarrassed because when the big truck came and I got married and they put all my furniture in the truck and they're like, oh, Dolores just got married. She's moving to Missouri. Oh, yeah. Baby. They had to pack that truck back up. And the same neighbors that saw me leave, they saw me come home. And I remember Mama T. She was an older lady, an elder across the street. She lived like on the side. She said, hey, baby, it's good to have you back. I said, thank you, Mama T. I didn't care what other people thought of me. It was my house. But I wasn't telling people what I was going to do because it was my decision. And I was woman enough to make those decisions. And I believed God was going to help me. Why would he change his mind now? They sing that song, I don't believe you brought me this far to leave me. Whose report would you believe? Everybody who's talking doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about. Someone said, never take advice from a person you wouldn't trade places with. You see a person living a certain kind of way and they're trying to tell you how to do this and you're looking like, well, okay. Now, I'm not saying people don't learn a little later on, but why not conversate with somebody who's already where you want to be? Even if they don't look like you. You can do that. Even if they don't look like you. What you want are the results. And now be careful because sometimes we want these relationships and we want to hold on the relationships, but really God allows them to be a resource for you. And I'm going to give y'all a good example. 2007, I had the opportunity to stand center stage with Oprah Winfrey. It was a dream come true. I had been hoping and praying and trying to get my way to the Oprah show for 18 years. 18 years, that's a long time. But I kept the prize inside. I kept the prize, I kept my eye on the prize. Now, I didn't really know. I went like everybody else. I tried to write my story for them to bring me on. It didn't work. I tried it again. It didn't work. And I was like, well, Lord, and then the opportunity presented itself, but it actually came as a result of a speaking engagement. I was working for National Public Radio, and I was interviewing this person who was a part of a team working for Bill Cosby at the time. And she said, we're doing something called call outs. And I said, well, what is that? She says, well, we're looking for everyday people who are doing extraordinary things. Like, we don't care about, people who felt like they've arrived and all that. Let's look at these hardworking Americans who struggle every day, but they come out on top. That's what they were looking for. So as I'm interviewing her, and I said, well, I got a story. You do? Yeah. She said, well, tell me about your story. So at the end of our interview, I told her about my story. You got to count yourself in. Yes, I was working, but I still had a story. So I told her my story. And then I get the call. You've been chosen to be a part of Bill Cosby's call-outs. And we'll be in Kansas City on this particular date. And Penn Valley is going to host this huge conference. And you're going to be sitting on the main stage with Bill Cosby. And then your opportunity is, you get the opportunity to stand up there and tell parts of your story, Dolores Jones. Honey, when they gave me that mic, I ripped it, baby. I ripped that mic. I got to talking. You got to be prepared. And I remember saying something about, I don't know Oprah, but Bill Cosby knows Oprah. And by the time I just mic dropped, bam, like that. And Cosby came up behind me. He said, who is this ball of enthusiasm? You got to know how to show up for yourself. Then I get a call a year later from the Oprah show. Dolores Jones, this is Pete. I'm a producer at the Oprah Winfrey Show. There's a book coming out called Come On People, and you're featured in that book, and we want to fly you to Chicago to be on the Oprah show. What? It didn't come the way I wanted it to, or when I thought it was going to come, but it came. Now, what would have happened if I just would have been lazy and whatever. I ain't going to tell my story because they never called me back. I wanted to go on the show and that's some people's problem. Because it doesn't go the way you want it to go. Now you don't want to go. And there I am on this show, on this stage. And she was gracious enough to have her photographers on staff there. So when I came down and she said, come on down here. And I'm like, and I'm crying and she's looking and she's crying. And I'm like, I'm in the book. And she's like, I know. And I'm thinking, you mean you know who I am? I know who you are. Now, I didn't find out who you were the way you wanted me to, but I found out who you are. And let me tell you, you have an incredible story. And I have the pictures and stuff to show all of that, right? I decided I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm going to take my mess and I'm going to craft a message out of it. And then I'm going to share this message because I know there's somebody else who's going to be dealing with the same type of crap that I made it out of. And this is the time right now, ladies and gentlemen, with what's going on in our world today, this is the time for all survivors to stand up and take the mic, baby, and share your story. I don't care if you shared it at church 25 times every time they had a testimony service. Don't let somebody block your blessing. Oh, here she goes. And she about to tell this story again, girl. I can finish that story for her. But it's my story. When I'm here on YouTube, which is Dolores Jones TV, I have this one guy and he follows me. He finds me on YouTube and he comes on and he'll just start saying stuff. Oh, I heard that story. I know now you're going to tell them about this. And you're going to tell them about that. And I'm like, he's like a mosquito. Just like, why are you following me? He was over with me on Fly Nubian Queen. Just came on there. Sometimes he'll come on. He'll go like he left a comment. He's like, you were good. You weren't Mary Hart good. So I just basically stayed in my zone. I said, let me explain something to you, sir. There are several million channels on YouTube. You have my permission to go find another one. Because if you continue with this behavior, you will be blocked. And I meant that thing. Yeah, you gonna tell him about your son. Oh yeah, now then I remember your car. And I'm thinking, are you ready for the quiz? Right. You mean to tell me all you want to do is sit and watch my videos and pick them apart and then come when other people are trying to be blessed and be set free and you just want to throw your little jabs out there? If you don't get... Okay, sir, I will block you. I ain't going to entertain you. I'm going to block you. Now, if you want help, you can hang on. But listen, take your negative energy on down the street, or better yet, why don't you start your own channel since you feel like you have so much to say and you think people should listen to you? See, there are a lot of critics out there, but the critics are like crickets. They just chirping. But it takes courage to show up and do what you do. Self-criticism, it's real. I was watching a video about Anderson Cooper, and a lot of you all know Anderson Cooper is a wonderful journalist for CNN. He got his big break during Hurricane Katrina when Oprah noticed him and his coverage of how he handled the situation. And next thing you know, he just blew up. But he already had the basic skills. And so here he was talking to someone, and he was talking about his own self-doubt, and that if he's on television and he messes up a word, he'll go and he'll ruminate on it. He'll just obsess. I should have said it this way. Why didn't I say it this way? I shouldn't have said it to her. And for him to come out and publicly say that, I said, wow, this is what's up. That means you're in good company. If you're over exaggerating or if you're over criticizing, and there's something called self-compassion. Self-compassion is when you give yourself compassion. Think about somebody in your situation, and I'll say to you, what would you tell that person to do? Well, I would tell them that they're wonderful and it's good that they tried and to keep on going. And then I'll say, well, why can't you say that to yourself? So that means give that same compassion that you would give somebody else, give it to yourself. It's an assignment. You're giving so much away. You don't have to keep giving it away. Make a choice. Decide again. Choose again. Today was a huge day. It was Inauguration Day. That means a huge change. A new president, a new VP, a new vice president, Madam President, right? That means some things are going to change around here. So who are you electing? Are you going to elect to stay the victim? Or are you going to, brush up, hey, get your grease on, put the Vaseline on your hand, say, well, let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Bring it, devil. Bring it. Because you may lose some battles, but you don't have to lose the war. And you will miss every shot that you don't take. Hey there. Changes are coming. That's right. But you have to be at the forefront to kick that change off. You got to show up. Recently, I saw an opportunity on Facebook from some people that I've known, and they've already been to Africa. And I remember telling myself, and I put it on Facebook, I said, one day I'm going to speak in Africa. I'm going to speak in Africa. And then it seemed like all hell broke loose. COVID happened. I broke my leg. I got sick. But when I saw that opportunity, I said, find out what you need to do. Because I'm going. That's where my focus is. I don't have time to argue with anyone, fuss with anyone. I'm not getting ready to debate you about anything. I'm going to protect my peace. That's what I'm about. When I go home, It's Bella and I say, Dolores, okay, today you can watch this particular show, but tonight, right now, you're going to cut the TV off and you're going to pick one of the books over there on your nightstand and you are going to read this particular chapter. Remember, Les Brown says he reads 14 pages a day. So even if you read 5 pages, at least it's 5 pages you didn't have, and read for an understanding. That means get your little marker out or whatever, and then marinate on it. Think about it and see what you can apply. One of the books that I'm reading currently is called 1 Million Followers. And this author, he wrote the book and he had 1 million followers in 30 days. So in this book are the tips and the strategies about how to gain 1 million followers in 30 days. It's possible. So I have to take the time, read the chapter, outline, write something down and go, okay, how did you process that? Okay, what can you do right now with what you learned today? The choice is yours. Dolores Jones, your comeback coach, is my name. I love to show you how to bounce back better, not bitter, through life experiences and very tough decisions. You can win. The devil doesn't have the final say. And no fat lady has to sing. You just have to decide, I'm walking out. Where you going? I don't know, but I'm getting the hell out of here. Where's the bus stop? See, when you ready to go, as they say, ready to go, you know what I'm talking about. Is there a Mercedes at the baby? You will start walking. They call it pat and turn, or pat your feet and turn that corner. When you know that you hungry for something different and you know it's your birthright, and now the scales will come off your eyes and you say, I knew it. Now, that same momentum, you got to protect it. Because you do know you will be tested and you will be tried. But once you realize that's a part of the process, you say, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay. You prepare for the seasons, right? Like you prepare for winter. What do? You go get your snow boots. You prepare for the rain. You get your umbrella. You get your rain boots. These seasons are going to keep coming and going in your life, So learn from each season and then keep the tools and the materials and the strategies that you need. And continue to feed your faith and starve your fear. Feed your faith and starve your fear. How do you starve your fear? Number 1, you don't even entertain it. Number 2, you do it afraid. Number 3, you look to see, is this really a rational fear? Or is this a fear I'm holding on to because somebody told me, to be afraid? Because we're born with 2 fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. These other ones, these are learned fears. Those fears can become phobias. Those phobias can change your life. And, some people have a fear of small spaces. Some people have a fear of going outside, and they've lived their lives inside of a house, never coming out. But that's here. And if that's not you, you should be grateful that you're not stuck in a house. Maybe you're stuck right now in a relationship, but at any moment you can say, hey, I'm out, whatever. Whatever. You ain't gonna be nobody, whatever. Let me take my, what it missed to say in The Color Purple. When Celie, she said, I'm going with Suge. And Mr. sitting at the table, all that hell he brought in her life, all them years, ran her sister away. So I'm going with Suge. He said, Suge got talent. You ain't got talent. He said, you're black, you're ugly, you're a woman, you're nothing at all. Do you think she cared? Suge said, he ain't worth it. Miss Sophia said, he ain't worth it, Miss Celie. He ain't worth it. Next thing you know, she was sewing his pants. Okay. Be proud to be a woman. Be proud to be black. Kamala Harris is black. She's also, I think, they got Asian and all this other stuff up in there, mixed up in there. Diversified, like they say, diversity. Look for what it is you want to see. I think Michelle Obama said this too, a former first lady. She said, spend your time looking for people who are doing what you want to do. And then model what you see. They do it all the time. You see people with these videos twerking and doing all this other stuff. That's what they're doing. They saw something they wanted, and now they're modeling what they want to see. They model it. So what are you watching? What are you paying attention to? Who are you listening to? Who are you taking orders from? Some people, you're still living the lives of your grandma and your great grandma. And girl, you know what? Just keep the man, baby. All you need is a good man, baby. Don't worry about it. He's going to cheat. Don't worry about it. Just let him cheat as long as he's coming home and he's paying those bills. Well, what about respect, grandma? What about integrity? Oh, baby, as long as he's coming home, don't worry about it. So what do? You don't worry about it. You just stick and stay. Why? Because grandma them said. Girl, they all like that. No, they're all not like that. But if that's your narrative, you're going to get you one. Like the lady who said she was choosing to be a victim. She said her kid said, Mama, you can do better than that. And she said, I know I can. But this one right here, I think I want to keep him. You know you can do better. But whatever you decide upon, that's your decision. Are you settling for less because of a tradition? Because you don't feel worthy? Because of that mistake you made? Your former president recently granted pardons and clemency. And one of the people that he granted clemency to was what's the guy's name? Kilpatrick Kwame in Detroit. He served 7 years of a 28-year sentence. And I started looking at, well, what does that mean? So pardon means they let you go, and they can't charge you anymore. And it's basically like you didn't do it at all. Where clemency is, they let you go, but the crime still remains. But either way, you got to go. So some of y'all been pardoned. Some of y'all been given clemency. What are you going to do with that? Do you think Kwame sitting there talking about, well, let me see if I'm ready to go. It's about time. And when I read the article, he wrote Trump several times and was told no. He wrote to former President Barack Obama and was told no. But he didn't stop writing. The last letter he penned to Trump, he was congratulating Trump on the fact that he stood up for what he believed. Now, he didn't say it was right, but he stood up for what he believed. And Trump granted him clemency. Snoop Dogg has some guy that's now out too. So don't think that it's over and done with. Things can be changed. Like Fred Hammond said, late in the midnight hour, God's going to turn it around. He's going to work in your favor. Late in the midnight hour, God's going to turn it around. He's going to work in your favor. So if that is your testimony, if that is what you believe, your behavior will be consistent with what you're talking about. Behavior tells me about what you're expecting to happen. Your conversation tells me what you want, but your expectations? Oh, honey, I can look. You sitting at the bus stop. Why are they sitting there? They waiting for the bus. Are you sure? Yes, the bus stop. Well, if one go by, the other one's going to come because this is the bus stop. Expectation. Your expectation. Your behavior. You ain't got to tell anybody. They can watch you. Watch your choices. They can watch what you do and they can listen to what you say. It don't take a long time. You don't have to spend 5 years in a relationship with somebody to realize they're not going anywhere. As a young lady asked one young woman, she said, well, I thought I could help him change. She said, who said he wanted to change? Who said he wanted to change? Well, I just think if he changed, we would have a better relationship. You don't know if the man wants to change. And if God can't change him, listen, it's hard enough changing you. How you going to change another adult? All you going to change is some diapers, okay? Just change the baby's diapers and keep moving. It's on you, honey. It's on you. Clocks don't stop and time don't wait. So get up right now and share the video. Share the video. I thank you all for spending some time with me, Dolores Jones, your comeback coach. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the notification button. Hello to Facebook. Hello to Instagram. Hello to all of you there. Those of you that have found me for the very first time, I hope you come back and join me again. Those of you that keep coming back for more, you know I appreciate you, don't you? You should know. You should know that I appreciate you. You know, sometimes I look at my own videos and I come back and laugh. I'm like, girl, you so crazy. But that's what you love. You love me to be me, right? And I want you to be you. So have yourself a wonderful evening, or if it's morning where you are, whatever it is, get to going. Dominique, I'm going to close out with what she said. She said, ouch, you have stepped on my toes with this entire message, but I needed that. Thank you. You are welcome. Bobby, I love you the way you are, sis, and I love you too. We went to high school together. Now, Dominic, I want you to, just kind of inbox me about some of the things that you decided to do since I was stepping on your toes. And hopefully you painted them toes, girl, because I just recently got me a pedicure, honey. You got to have pretty feet, okay? You got to have pretty feet. That is a non-negotiable. When you step out. Take it easy, everybody. God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye.